This is the Pizza and Hummus podcast.
So why would you listen to the Pizza and Hummus podcast?
Am I right, bada bing?
Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go.
I laughed way too hard at that. That's the worst thing ever.
And welcome back to the Pizza and Hummus podcast. We have no guests today, but we're still gonna have fun. I'm Vince, and always with Richie.
Hey, it's gonna be we're still gonna have fun. We got a ball pit.
Got a nice ball pit. We have cameras now, Rich. You can't lie about having a ball pit.
It's under the table. You don't know.
It's under the. I wish I had like the sound effect. Like it's got like.
Add it in post.
You know what? I don't know if the cameras show all of us now, but could you imagine if this whole thing was filled like a ball pit? I don't know.
Live your best life. Fill this room with McDonald's ball pit.
They still have some of them. Still have those.
Yeah, I'll see them, and you'll just see the slide, like it's like going out of the building and then coming back in, and be like, "How do they have this much money for every McDonald's to be an amusement park?"
When you go on the outside, does it like freeze in the winter? How does that happen? We like to have every once in a while just us, like we did with the Meyer-Briggs. We like to kind of talk a little more about personalities and philosophies and all sorts of good
Think
stuff.
about making that a thing of when it's just us, we go into a little more thought-provoking things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Throw in some jokes here and there, but for the most part, we just kind of want to get a little bit more deeper, just something else to think about. Mm-hmm. We're always, hopefully people can learn stuff. That really wasn't a goal, but I like when we have a guest star, we can learn about the guest star, and then we can do this. We can kind of learn something about ourselves.
We're learning about ourselves. This is for us.
This is for us. I don't even know why you listen.
Yeah, don't do that.
We're the only ones that should be listening to this.
It's our birthday.
So let's start this episode right now. Did you watch Final Space?
No, but I'm
you
a fan inherently because it's Olin Rogers, but I haven't watched it.
I really liked it towards the end. It got really, really good. Like the beginning, it's okay. It's weird because Olin Rogers always does that voice.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He does that voice. So like part of me is a little, when I watch it for so long, part of me gets a little annoyed, but I'm like, well, this is his character. But it's just weird when he does it in real life all the time.
Because we have watched him for a while, so we're like, oh, this guy again. But as far as everyone else knows, it's just this character.
Yeah.
He took it from Dane Cook of the using words that you wouldn't expect that have the same meaning, like going out of your way to think of a goofy word to say the same thing. And then he just kind of ran with it.
Yeah.
He mixed, I feel like Olin Rogers is a mixture of Dane Cook and Will Ferrell. A lot of it. Cause like, you know how in some of the skits, he says like, by the beard.
Yeah.
And like that, I feel like those phrases are very Will Ferrell. Yeah. And then he adds the thinking of a kooky word.
Yeah.
Dane Cook.
She just mentally ninja'd my brain.
Right.
Like
That's
stuff like
very.
That. Yeah. Yeah.
Which here we go. It worked.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's, yeah. Well, in my opinion, it's like watching your kid grow up because
This is our victory.
I feel like we won.
That's how I feel when Kyle Mooney, who's on that Saturday Night Live.
Yeah.
When he got on there and now he's in like starting to be in movies, I'm like, I did this.
Yeah.
This is my you're welcome.
Somehow I'm responsible. I rooted for you.
Yep.
But yeah, it's just crazy because Balloon Shop was a huge influence for us.
Yeah.
It was like we just love that type of comedy, and I really miss that type of thing where like you had people like they went on YouTube and they created like these skits, and it felt like you can tell they were homemade.
Yeah.
But that was like almost like the best part of it.
Yeah.
It felt like it was yours. It didn't feel like something that Hollywood or whatever kind of made.
Yeah.
It felt accessible. And at the same time, like it almost felt like you had like an inside joke between your buddies.
Yeah.
It was
accessible. It was realistic. But it was also like really good and funny. So you could aspire to do that.
Yeah.
And it was also just happened to be funny enough to where, hence why it caught on to become an inside joke almost inherently. Like if you say, hey, Ben, to most people, not most people, but a big chunk of people at Ike, you'd hope they know if they're weird.
Yeah. if they said I rode jet skis at the Cabo.
Yeah. There's like 1 in 5 people who'll be like, what was that?
Yeah.
You're like, yeah. But no, I just heard Bo Burnham on You Made It Weird, like the third time he was on, go on a big rant about this, which I enjoyed.
Yeah.
Because it's like he was talking about how like, what is it, like half of the whole trending page on YouTube is like NBC shows.
Yeah.
Being like this is the direct opposite of what YouTube was for. Be like, we need a trending video. And he's like all sarcastic, like, oh, NBC needs a trending video of Jimmy Fallon, being like, oh, I wonder how they're gonna do it. Like, and there's not to be pompous, but there's just like a loss of purity to it. Like then there's a skit. It was, we want to make a skit and we're funny and no one knows us. So
Yeah.
clearly the only reason we're doing it really is because we have to, because we want to.
And I feel like that's so one of the things that, because we've been doing a podcast for about 2 years now. One of the things that got me really into podcasting was I heard from You Made It Weird, Kevin Smith. He went on and he was like, podcasting is one of the last art forms where there's currently no rules.
Yeah.
And he's like, if you have an idea and you just want to do it, you can just do it on a podcast.
Yeah.
He's like, you can't always do that with you can't, like, television is obviously very red taped. Even like YouTube, like you said, you go on YouTube, the trending stuff is all stuff that you would see on television.
Yeah.
So you're just like, okay, like it's really different. Whereas podcasting, you can do a 3-hour interview with somebody and people will listen to it or maybe they won't, whatever. And you can kind of do whatever you want.
Yeah.
So that was one of the things that really got me, because this felt like kind of bringing back that YouTube thing where we can create, we can still create our jokes. We can still create different stuff. And it doesn't feel so, like you said, like polished.
Yeah. So, and in a not inherently negative way, but censored in a way of where it's just, well, these are the rules and you gotta.
Yeah.
And I mean, I feel like even though obviously there's not too many written rules for YouTube, there's unwritten rules. Like, I mean, that's why most of the content that it's trending is either NBC or it's an actual YouTuber, but it's like, it's not, we talked about this several times. It's not content. It's not anything. It's like, it's a vlog of somebody like a lot of the fitness ones that I follow. The most viewed videos are, quote, a full day of eating.
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah.
I mean, I watch them, but what is that? That's not anything. I
know what you're
You know what
talking
I mean?
about. And I think a lot of maybe even our listeners kind of feel like that way too, where it feels as if the content, it's like that video we've talked about before. The guy, hey, this is the baby food eating challenge,
Yeah.
and they're like, is this content?
What are you doing?
Like,
watching this?
Why are we spending our time watching this? There's really nothing to give us, and I think that's why, as we've even talked about in the last episode, how there's so much content that we don't take time to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Whereas like when a new balloon shop video came out, you watched it.
Yeah.
You felt like it was something that you were a part of, and then the jokes stayed on.
Yeah.
So then you would go to your school or go to whatever, and you would say the jokes, and people would know it, and it felt more like more lasting. And then when a new episode came out, you were even more thrilled. Then you're watching it to like get to know new jokes. Whereas now it's like, oh, haha. That's like, you might not even laugh out loud. You're just gonna like breathe heavily out your nose.
Yeah.
And then you just go to the next thing, and it just moves on, and life carries on.
It's so there's I feel like there's even though it's more shared, this is such a cliche. Even though it's more shared and everything, I feel like there's much less of a community to it. Like you're saying, like, I mean, occasionally, you'll show somebody, hey, look at this guy, fall down while he's wearing stilts, and then you're like, cool, I saw that. It's always I saw that.
Yeah.
Which isn't bad, but it's like it means you watched it alone, which means there was a much less likelihood that you actually laughed out loud. It was because it's like a small form of insanity if you laugh like too hard when you're by yourself. I read somewhere, which is so a lot of people aren't going to be doing that. So it's just like it's weird. Like I feel like media now is, like I was saying with the stilts, I feel like it's very funniest home videos. All of the content. Like if you scroll through Facebook, it's like you don't even have to listen to it. Sound isn't needed because it's a guy slipping on a banana peel. You don't need like the boing, boing, like the sound effects or anything. It's weird. I don't know.
Well, it's even weirder too because, like if you watch True TV, as if you don't have respect for yourself, even television is trying to copy that.
Yeah.
They're trying to be like, so they pull videos that you see online, they show it on there, and then they have some like C-list actor be like, "Can you believe this guy?"
Yeah.
And you're like, "Yeah, I've already seen it."
Yeah.
Why are we watching on television? Like, maybe it's for the people who don't go online. I don't know. Like,
people who watch True TV?
I guess so, but like, I don't know. Even I think cable's even getting worse now too. But yeah, I think there's going to be more media out. There's always going to be something where people are going to find like a niche, and then those people are going to go there. And that's how YouTube started. That's how it came. It felt as if you could reach it, and I feel like that's how podcasting is now.
Yeah,
You know?
it's definitely shifted, and you hope it keeps just shifting. You know what I mean? Because clearly, eventually, somehow, this will be less of an open space.
Yeah.
And then hopefully there's just going to be the next thing, which may just be, who knows?
Yeah. And hopefully we'll be doing it.
Yeah.
I guess depending on what it is. So, well, I know today you really wanted to get a little more philosophical.
I feel like that's good. That like when we do ours, not all the time when it's just me and you, but I feel like that's a good because it's a little more free.
And it's less. Usually when we have a guest on, we're trying to discover something about them.
Yeah.
Or if we have like repeat guests like Jarrett, then we can kind of get more into, hey, let's just talk about whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like for us, we can kind of get more in depth, get a little more speaking time in.
Yeah. I feel like also because we just enjoy it. It seems like that seems to be
Oh, definitely.
because we both like to talk. And so this is just a sandbox of talking.
Well, sometimes when you tell me every once in a while, like, yeah, I just want to have like an episode, like we'll have us, we can get like philosophical in this. I'm always thinking like, Richie, we can always just hang out too. Like,
No, we cannot.
like, nope, can't fit in the
Sorry.
schedule.
There's not a microphone in front of me. I don't know.
If it's not being recorded, then what's the point?
All right, the friendship isn't real if it's not recorded. Could you imagine if that's a thing? Okay.
It might be.
So this is kind of funny. I like to, because we're going to be talking about hopefully like just more thought-provoking things, but I just recently started doing this at work of like jokingly, because it's just funny to see people's reactions. Just like you'll get like real quiet, just like a normal office setting.
Yeah.
And then I'll just be like, just like to whoever, just out into the open. Anyone ever think about like if they're real?
If they are real,
Yeah.
you're not referring to aliens.
No,
as the they.
I'm talking about them like
them themselves.
You ever think you're not real? Just like something like that. And everyone just like, at this point, just like sighs and just rolls their eyes. Think about it.
How do you know?
How do you know? Am I real? Then everyone's just like, Jesus.
Every once in a while, it doesn't happen a lot. It happens a little more the older I get. Every once in a while, I kind of get in this weird existential thing where I go, wait a minute. I can only see what this body sees.
Oh, yeah.
I go, I can't see what my dog sees. Like in a way you can, but you know what I'm saying? Like I can't see through the dog's point of view. I can't see through your point of view. I go, and I always think, was I always in this body, or do I think like I woke up today and I had all these memories and it's okay, this is who I am today. Like tomorrow, am I someone else?
Are you writing for Black Mirror?
I think so. I don't know.
I know what you mean.
Every once in a while I get that. I'm like, wait a minute. I go, this is it. This is my hands. I see my hands. I control my hands.
Yeah.
I can see this. I can't see you looking at this body.
No, a lot of hand motion
I'm
going on.
kind of glad because this isn't that good looking of a body. But I get in that every once in a while, and then I'm like, I got to take my mind off that. Do you ever have that thing where like you read something online and it says like think about breathing, and then you're stuck because all you're doing is you're thinking about your breathing,
Yeah.
and it messes you up for a couple minutes?
I'll do that like.
That's what it's like.
Of like, well, no, that's the whole thing of I think, therefore I am. Of the only thing that I know for sure is I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Everything beyond that is just like what is coming into my cones and the rods in my head and then processed.
Well, and then the other one too is kind of, I guess, similar to like the Matrix one. It's like, okay, how do I know that you are actually a conscious being,
Right.
and you're not just something like programmed, or not so much programmed, but like, I'm the only one of this that has the consciousness. Everyone else is just kind of in reaction to.
Yeah. I mean, you'll think about like how like that could be just what your brain is projecting out my responses or whatever. I could be saying something totally different right now. Who knows? And it makes me kind of think of like the first, I don't know, spoiler alert, the first most of the Sixth Sense, how like Bruce Willis had no what is it? Cues were given to him that he wasn't alive and that no one could see him.
Yeah.
The whole went through a whole movie. It took the span over a couple weeks, and it never clicked with him that I don't think anyone has noticed me. Like, I might be dead. Like, that never clicked, which I feel like is a similar thing, even though it is a movie. But
yeah, I mean, it's that kind of thing where, like, you know, everyone else is like, no, we're actually robots, but they don't know that, and you're just like, oh, wait a minute, I'm not. Like, I don't know. It's. But then at that time, I go, what is? That's a pretty selfish thought. Like, I'm the only one.
Well, you can't help it.
The world is made for me.
I feel like that is a big detriment, is when people don't accept how selfish they are. I feel like that's a bad thing. I feel like I don't think you should be selfish. I just think you should recognize that you are about as selfish as it gets inherently because of that thought, which everyone has if they think hard enough. Be like, I think this body is the actual center of the universe, because that's all your brain can really think about.
And I wonder if it does that as a defense mechanism.
Yeah.
Like, you know, the universe surrounds you, therefore you don't want to destroy this thing. Mm-hmm. Whereas if the universe was surrounded around something else, it's okay to do that. But there's also a lot of good, obviously, in being selfless, in sacrifice, in, you know, all these things.
Right. Supporting the community.
Yeah.
The village quote. I think we've talked about before.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, no, even just, like the self-sacrifice. When you think of like the mama bear mentality, like the universe is her babies. Mm-hmm. So, you know, she'll die for her babies as long as she knows that her babies will be going on.
Yeah.
So that part kind of contradicts it, but so there is we obviously see the good in that, but at the same time, you know, there's always, I mean, when you look at a lot of things in life, there's people, oh yeah, you know, I would totally do that, and then when they're in that situation, they do the complete opposite. And you're like, what? Why? You thought about it, and it's like, well, your instincts kicked in and you were like, I gotta get out of here.
Right. The number one, when you don't have time to be like, what would make me sound perfect right now, and make other people feel, which also I feel like is I mean, it just goes back to the same thing of just why is everyone the one-upping of being like the moral high ground one-upping, which is totally a paradox of being like, I'm a better person, which means you're worse than me. Being like, it's a competition. It's a competition for being better. Yeah. Which is, I feel like ends up being like, well, why are you just do it? Yeah. And I guess the key to that is humility, but part of it is going, like I always think of it like this, because I'll occasionally get in that thing too. Occasionally isn't all the time, where it's like, okay, you think like you're in a moral high ground, but I always think of it as like, okay, it's almost like the big brother, you know better. Yeah. Therefore, like you can't just, you're not better than someone else because maybe you know this right from wrong better. It's, you actually have more responsibility. So if you mess up, it's a bigger deal. So it's almost kind of thinking like you have the potential to be a really crappy person. And that kind of levels it down versus the pride aspect of like, oh, you're doing so good. It's like, no, it's like, you know what's good, therefore you're at a higher expectancy to do well versus maybe someone else. Yeah. I like how that's worded a lot. Yeah. Because I feel like that's very true. As if it's almost like, I mean, the law, I mean, think of it like, so you knew that they were going to you knew they were going to rob the bank and you didn't do anything. Okay. Well, that's accessory or something like that. Well, you were an accomplice. You were aware that better could be done and you didn't. It's almost worse. Yeah. And it's kind of like the 4-year-old, you know, the 4-year-old, he's at a store with his mom and he sees a candy bar that's at his height, which is planned so that way they can get them to buy stuff. Well, the kid just takes it. Oh, I see a candy bar. He just takes it. He doesn't understand you can't steal. That's not whatever. So now imagine
a 40-year-old doing that. He
Yeah.
sees a candy bar, he takes it and goes. Like, he knows that it's wrong, you know, therefore he has a higher responsibility.
It's now
but,
worse.
But if the 40-year-old goes to the 4-year-old, like, that stupid 4-year-old, he doesn't know right from wrong. It's like, well, you've been around for 36 years more than he has.
That's like Eugene Merman. This is one of my favorite lines ever. He was talking about kids say the darndest things, and he goes, "So would you if you had no education."
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing?
It's like, well, kids are honest, like, but they're also dumb.
Yeah.
They don't know anything yet.
Yeah.
They're a blank canvas.
That's like, that might be like almost adds to the first thing we were talking about being so selfish is kids are selfish.
Yeah.
Because they're just a fresh person, and a person inherently maybe is kind of selfish. They think they're the center of the universe deep down, but they don't have any of the cues.
Well, you got to remember too, there's no reason for them to think to be selfless. They're hungry.
Yeah.
They don't get up and make a
They're more
sandwich.
primal.
They see their mom might be hungry. They don't get up and make their mom a sandwich. They can't move. Their only thing they can do is cry.
Yeah.
And then the mom gives them food. So they go, okay, this is how this works. When I'm hungry, I cry, I get the food. When I, whatever. So you got to
Conditioned response.
Yeah. So conditioned response. So then by the time they get older, for a while, that's what they think. Like, well, yeah, it's in a way it's surrounded by me. I let my people know, my parents know, hey, I'm hungry and I get food. I don't think like, oh, mom looks hungry, I should make her a sandwich. I don't know how to make sandwiches. I just know how to cry and get the sandwich.
I haven't learned the cues that, because you also kind of think, I don't know if this is getting too off the point, but you also kind of think that your parents aren't human, I guess. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
There's much of I mean, we all talk about like, there's a lot of that in life of you think you're, as a son, or actually for both, you think your mom or your dad are almost untouchable. Same thing with like,
they're your foundation.
yeah. And even almost like, I mean, for me, it was Arnold Schwarzenegger on top of my parents, obviously, of like, well, he can do anything, but then you find out he does steroids. And you're like, wait a minute. Reality is coming. And then like, oh, well, I like Hulk Hogan. Wow, hero. I'll be like, well, wrestling's fake. You're like, no. And then like, Santa's not real.
Yeah.
And then, this might be a stolen bit. I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, you also don't think about that they need anything because they've been the all-knowing forever here.
And I think a selfless baby would be a dead baby. Like if a baby was
selfless
hungry,
baby, that's poetic.
like think about it. Like if a baby was like, I'm hungry, but you know, they got a lot going on their plate. They die.
Yeah, taxes are due.
Because they can't communicate.
Right.
They don't know, and they can't do anything either. It'd be different if they could communicate, like if they could do stuff, but they can't communicate. They can't. They just sit and crawl. They don't know. They see something they put in their mouth. They don't know what it is.
Right.
You know, so it's like, yeah, they're selfish, but here's the problem. I guess here's the problem I have when we say like we're selfish is that it's almost implying that you're choosing to be selfish and you had another choice. Like a baby doesn't have a choice to do that because they can't do anything. They just know that they don't want to die.
Yeah. There's
they cry.
almost no choice.
Yeah, they almost don't have a choice. Whereas if you're an adult and let's say you order some, you don't have a lot of money, and so but you have kids. You're gonna feed your kids first, even though you have hunger pangs, because you're being selfless. You're caring about your kids. Now, if the guy, you know, think of the Family Guy John Goodman bit where it's you know what I'm talking about? It's Thanksgiving and they have John Goodman just eating everything and all his family members are starving and he's like, you can have what's left, and he
Like,
eats
there's
the food.
never anything left.
Yeah. Like, and then the mom tries to like get food and he like stabs her with a fork, you know, and like the kid like passes out because they have any food. Like that's an obvious idea of selfishness because they know better.
Right.
So it's kind of hard to say like, oh, a baby's selfish. Like, no, a baby's a baby. Like it's trying to survive. A 4-year-old's a baby. An adult that does that, yeah, an adult, that's a pretty selfish person.
Yeah. It could be almost like maybe selfish. I mean, and obviously that kind of makes sense because selfishness, I feel like, is an evolutionary advantage because all babies are they have nothing
To a certain point.
Yeah, to a certain point, all babies are just trying to survive.
Yeah.
They have nothing else to try to do.
But then once you get older and you're capable of it, then selfishness is actually a problem evolutionary.
Right.
You want selflessness because then if you don't take care of your kids, you don't take care of the baby who can't take care of itself.
Right.
The baby dies. That prevents future generations. Or if you're, I was thinking about this, I think yesterday. No, I was thinking about this today. It's like if I left my wallet out, right? Why wouldn't your first reaction be like, oh, I should take the money out of that wallet?
Right.
And there's, like I said, you can go into right, wrong, morality, all that great stuff. I have no problem with that. But it's like, I think the big reason is because you see, well, the friendship is actually worth more than the couple bucks in there.
Mm-hmm.
So then you kind of think in terms of like a community. Well, then why do you not just steal from your neighbor all the time?
Yeah.
One reason could be the neighbor could kill you.
You wonder
if you break in the house. But the other one could be like, well, it's actually a better relationship. And I think we talked about this a couple episodes back where we talked about how why people stopped. They realized that kind of killing other people was wrong. Because it's like, well, if I kill you, I kill you, I can take your land, but I can't plow, hunt, do all these things. Like, so if you plow and I do this and we trade and we're both alive, hey, we both prosper. You give me vegetables and I give you something I hunt from. And we can all kind of work as a community.
I feel like, and that's kind of what I was trying to get to when I was talking about how like the baby is inherently selfish, and it's almost like a deep, and I don't know, but it seems like maybe this wording is wrong or whatever, but for humans, selfishness is a default because I feel like more primal instinctual things are default settings. And then as you grow older, as you see your surroundings and you start to see the benefit of working with a community, then you ignore the default and you see the wallet and you go, should I steal it? And you go, and then you use your, hey, look, I'm an adult thinking. And you go, okay. And you probably don't even realize it. Man, I really want to know what keeps you from stealing the money. Besides, and you could say, obviously it's a law. You don't want to go to jail. You don't want them to come after you. Mm-hmm. I wonder how much of it, what the ratio is. That'd be interesting to find out somehow what the ratio is of the person subconsciously or consciously thinking this is better for all. Well, do you see some of yourself in them? Is it empathy?
It can be empathy. I think a big part of it is the concept of sacrifice. Mm-hmm. And I'm not talking about like the Mayans where they would, cut kids' hearts open and
play soccer with their heads.
Play soccer with their heads and whatever other bit some comedian says about Mayans. But like the idea of sacrifice is the idea of like, okay, I might be a little uncomfortable now, but it's going to pay off in the future. It's going to be better in the future. And that's kind of really what separates humans from animals in that sense. Where like if a dog is hungry and they see food, they're going to try to eat it. Mm-hmm. Unless they see like, oh, well, if I eat this food, then this dog's going to kill me or something. Yeah. Humans, we see this idea of sacrifice where we say, okay, you take out your wallet. I'm not going to steal from you because I know in the long run, that's going to have dimensional effects. Mm-hmm. You could try to steal from me. You could try to attack me, or we could work together and we have that trust. If you trust in me that I won't steal from you, then I can trust that you won't steal from me. Yeah. And so like bottom level, it is kind of selfish in that way. But like I said, it's that moment of, okay, well, I'm going to be uncomfortable now. Like I could be $100 richer right now. Yeah. Or I could not be $100 richer. And I make that kind of sacrifice of losing that potential future in order for a better future.
For the community to be a little bit bigger.
When you think about, like I said before, with the food and the kids, I'm going to be a little bit more hungrier. I'm not going to be full, but my kids are going to live. Yeah. And maybe when I get older, my kids will take care of me. Or you maybe don't even think that far. You just think like, well, I don't want my kids to die. That's worse than me just being full right now.
Yeah. And you think about it like we're at the top of the food chain. We're not that big. We're not that strong in comparison to mooses.
But we understand. But like I said, we understand
we work together.
Time, and we understand time. We understand how we can sacrifice time for something greater. Mm-hmm. Animals, their first instincts
is to pounce.
Do whatever. So our thing is like, okay, well, if I set up this trap and wait, something might come in. If I
forward thinking,
if we think of like cattle, why don't we just kill all the cattle and eat it? Well, because then there's no more cattle. Right. Well, if we can get the cattle to keep reproducing and you only kill a couple of the cattle and use it for meat or whatever. I mean, same with vegetables, everything. Like, why don't we just engulf ourselves in every food and drug right now in the moment? It's like we have access to it. You can go in your fridge and just keep eating everything, throw up and keep eating.
Yeah.
It's like, well, no, that's not good. You
right.
have a sandwich, but then you still got other foods in the thing.
For later when you want another sandwich.
Like my dog, for example, and a lot of the dogs I've had, if you leave food out, they'll eat the dog food. If you keep putting food in there, they'll keep eating it because their brain goes, oh, food isn't always around.
Yeah.
And they just keep eating. I had a lab who we'd leave a bunch of food out. The dog would eat the food and go, oh, he's hungry. So he kept giving him food. The dog would puke and then keep eating.
Yeah.
So we were like, okay, new rule.
Turns out,
Can't do that. Like,
well, I mean, that's,
you know,
it's like an actual study for humans, no less, as if you put more food, not taking out, you can go as many times as you want. That part doesn't matter. Go up for a second anytime you want. But if you put more food on the plate, you will be more likely to eat beyond comfortability.
Yeah.
Beyond being
I'm definitely one of those
satisfied.
people.
It's just because in our very deep down, we go, I don't know when I'm going to get food next, but it's right here. I don't want to waste it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why, like, you know, as you get older, hopefully you learn to control your portions and that you go, okay, I'm really, really hungry, but maybe I'm not going to have 10 scoops of mashed potatoes.
Right.
I'm going to get full at around 2. So you put 2 on your plate.
Yeah.
Cause like, you know, when you see like a little kid and they go, I'm starving.
Right.
And they get this, you know, fucking 10 scoops of mashed potatoes and a big steak and all that. And then they take 2 bites because their stomach is as big as a walnut.
Yeah.
And they're like, I'm full. And then the mom gets mad at them because you wasted all this food.
Yeah. Your eyes are bigger than your stomach is very valid.
Yeah. And it's like, and that's another thing that comes in the sacrifice. It's like, I'm really hungry right now, but I know I'm only going to be able to eat two scoops.
So instead of hoarding,
you do the 2 scoops and then you have that for leftovers. And then when you're hungry again, you can go back and eat it.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those initial things. And it's like I said, it's all part of this sacrifice of you're sacrificing maybe a little bit of comfort, or at least you think is comfort
what
right
you
now.
think is, yeah.
For something much greater later on. And I think that's something that's big. Now you could say, okay, well, squirrels, they store nuts for the winter and they do all this type of stuff. But really the big idea is that if they see a nut, they're going to try to eat it or store it and eat it, whatever. Humans, we have this capacity to sacrifice something for a greater good later on. Something that's much more beneficial.
And even at the same time, we also store the nuts into the tree. Yeah. There's a lot of it, which I think is a big problem.
And I think too, you know, but then I guess this goes in the question, are we selfish though? Because, they're being selfless right now, but they're doing it for something greater. Yeah. So can you ever really say you're not selfish? Like it's going to benefit something later that you think is good.
Yeah.
Think about like when you let's say you go to the gym. You go to the gym and you're working out. Well, you know, it's much more comfortable to sit on the couch and eat potato chips. But you're like, no, I'm going to work out because I want to get healthy. Is that really a selfless act of, he's sacrificing sitting on the couch when he's working out? It's like, well, no, because you see a greater good of being working out later. So It's like, so is that still a selfish thing?
It's working towards, because it's weird because the gym I feel like is an interesting example because it's very who else, even me, does it benefit? You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I mean, there's plenty of times where I'm not necessarily like I have a pretty garbage diet for like chunks of time, but I'm still working out really hard and putting it as priority. So health in those moments is not the priority. And me going to the gym and working out and everything is not benefiting anybody else. So it's interesting to be like, well, what is the benefit? Because there is one, because I'm putting comfort to the wayside.
Yeah.
I want to watch Deadpool 2.
Yeah.
But I go into the gym. And I feel like there's a possibility and a benefit to forward thinking for your own highest good. Mm-hmm. It's almost I guess just having it, and this sounds really self-serving and I don't mean it to. It just seems like it's where could I be better? Could I be better for no other reason than being better?
Yeah.
And you wonder, well, then is that, God, feels like just a loop, just a thought loop that I can't get out of. And then is that selfish?
Yeah.
Of like, why do you want to be better?
And is that
than others?
Is that selfish in a negative connotation?
Yeah,
Or is that a good thing? Like you're improving yourself.
Yeah.
And I mean, in a way, it's like yes and no.
Right.
Yes, because you want to be improved, but also no, because if like, let's say you stay healthy, you live longer. That's good for yourself, but it's also good for other people who maybe are going to depend on you or rely on you later on.
Yeah. Maybe financially or emotionally.
Emotionally, whatever it
Yeah.
is. Like, we're going to need you for a while for this podcast. So you got to make sure that you don't.
We just put this TV up.
We just put the TV up.
I don't want the next episode
I can't have.
to TV sitting here.
I mean, so, you just say it.
Yeah.
Just if you see any anvils, avoid them.
Yeah. Just do that.
avoid-
Just don't do that.
Just don't do that. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I guess that's the thing is like, is it selfish? And then and then the next question would be, if the answer is yes, like, oh, you're only doing that because you know that you're going to be better in the future. Okay. Is that a bad thing though?
Yeah.
Is that better? Is that a bad thing? Like, are you like, you might be stuck. Like you either choose something comfortable now because you're selfish, or you wait because something greater happens and they say, okay, that might be considered selfish. But is that bad though? I feel like the latter is better than the former. I feel like it's much better than to do something that's, I've done this rant a bunch of times, at least outside of the podcast, maybe even in the podcast, but the idea of like everything in life is either work or play. And whichever one you choose now, the latter is going to be intensified.
Yin and yang, ebb and flow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you when you're a kid, you get home from school, you could either play video games or hang out with your friends, or you can do your homework and get it done. If you do your homework and get it done, you can play after and you don't have to worry about a test. You don't have to worry about the homework being due. You might get a good grade and it intensifies. It's better.
Yeah.
But if you take play, play's fun, but now you're going to have this homework assignment on your brain. It's going to keep bothering you. And if it's going to be harder because you have to do it last minute. And if you don't get it done, then you're going to get a bad grade. And if you get a bad grade, it starts to intensify the more you pick it. But you have to pick but I guess the thing too is you always end up getting both. It's just which one do you want to intensify?
You're never not going to get both.
You're never not going to get both.
I feel like, I wonder if the conversation then switches to maybe, and it might be this one and the same, maybe less moving away from selfishness and going into forward thinking. Because forward thinking isn't guaranteed being a human. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of very cliche rants of instant gratification that's very big right now.
Yeah.
That's not very forward thinking. They're like hoarding of just general stuff. Not necessarily I'm a hoarder with newspapers or I'm a hoarder with cat food, whatever. It's the kind of the Egyptian, the pharaoh. The pharaoh's mindset of dying with everything.
Yeah. So then you have it all.
Yeah. And there's one of my favorite quotes is the last suit you wear doesn't need any pockets. Like, so, obviously there is forward thinking is necessary so that you can keep going and you don't, let's just say, run out of money. Let's make it very simple. So you save, you do this, you invest, you work very hard, whatever, so you have money in the long term. And then you go, where's the balance of forward thinking, work and play? Same exact thing you were talking about. Where's the balance then of how much forward thinking do I need to have without sacrificing, enjoying where we are right now, having a good time?
Yeah.
And then before the last thing I want to say, and this is because I was thinking about this, forward thinking, I feel like slowly, if not monitored, becomes anxiety. And there's a lot of people with anxiety now who didn't have it then, or back then. And you wonder, is anxiety an evolutionary advantage that went too far and is now a detriment?
Yeah, because you have
your turn.
You have that fight or flight type of thing. Well, like my thing is that I feel like I get anxiety easily, and I feel like everyone and their mother says that. But I do kind of the almost like the Avengers Hulk type of thing. Like people ask like, how do I keep from being mad? I'm always mad. That type of thing.
My baseline is thinking.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, well, my thing is just like, I get anxiety easily. I overthink, I do whatever. But since I know that about myself, I try my best not to give into it all the time.
Right.
Like I know that I say I get anxiety easily. So that way I know, okay, Vince, you get anxiety easily, which means that there might not be a reason to be anxiety. And the cure is to just keep moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it's going to go away. And I think that another thing with the work and play thing where it's like, okay, you get anxiety about this thing, right? If you choose the play, which is I'm not going to do the thing of anxiety, I'm going to do something that makes me comfortable. The work part is going to be that thing will always intensify an anxiety for you. If you like, let's say you're learning to drive and you almost get in a car crash. Let's say almost. You're going to be a little scared to go driving again.
Yeah.
You're going to get a little anxiety
Little
to
trauma.
go driving again because now you're like, this can happen. But if you stop driving, then if something happens where you have to drive, it's brutal.
Giving into fear.
And it's harder to do it. Whereas if you go, okay, I fell off the horse, I'm getting back up again. And you start to drive, your anxiety starts to go down because you start realizing, oh, this isn't that bad. I just have to be more careful on the road. I learned something versus this thing changed me in a negative way. Like I can never do it again.
Right.
It just teaches you, okay, now I got to know I have to look both ways, or I got to make sure of the other drivers, or I can't be on my phone or whatever. But if you don't give in, if you don't go through, and you give in to your anxieties, then that never happens.
It becomes much more daunting. Now, would you say that, well, first of all, it's so tough because anxiety is so subjective and for the individual.
Oh, absolutely.
And they're just like, but would you say for you, it's almost like being self-aware of your anxiety, being gentle to yourself, and then almost kind of like how if you while you're dreaming, if you're able to say, this is a dream.
Yeah.
You're free almost. Would it be something like that?
Yeah.
Of like, this is, don't forget, most of your anxiety is, quote, a dream, is not real.
Yeah.
There's another quote. It's, I'm an old man and I've had many troubles in my life, most of which have never happened.
Yeah. I was thinking of a quote pretty similar to that. It's like, yeah, being afraid, you're afraid of something that will most likely never happen.
Yeah.
It's something like around that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the thing too. You have to know that. When I was in 9th grade, I was going to a new school and I was terrified. I got this whole fear of being in a new school because I wasn't fond of my last school. And I was like, it's going to be like that, but worse.
Mm-hmm.
And I got so much anxiety that I thought I was sick.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I had
You can think yourself sick. Isn't
I
that
thought
crazy?
myself sick. I had stomach aches. I couldn't eat. I didn't want to do anything. I was just in this shock. All I wanted to do was sleep because I just wanted to like not be conscious. And it seems, like I said, it seems a little ridiculous, but like that's like my anxiety will kick in like that. Well, eventually my parents got the idea of he's not really sick. He's just really nervous. He's just got really bad anxiety. So okay. Like I took a day off of school or whatever. And then it's like, all right, back. And I'm like, I think I'm still sick. They're like, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. And then I pushed through it. And I always think like, what if my parents were convinced that I was sick?
Yeah.
And what if they were like, no, Vince is really sick. You can't go to that school.
Yeah.
You have to stay home.
Treating something that isn't
You have to be
wrong.
homeschooled.
Yeah.
Now I would have been terrified of going to a school.
Mm-hmm.
And that really messed with me because I've heard of people that's happened to where they get so scared of something that if people around them kind of convince them that it's real, like, oh no, you should be afraid of that.
Yeah.
It makes sense that you're afraid of that. Then all of a sudden it's cemented in their mind of like, I can't do that thing ever or it will kill me.
Yeah. Now you want to also, I'm wondering if there's a balance to it too, because you almost want to say, and you feel like almost like, because also if you go, it's nothing, you're crazy, and then send them off, then they're like, well, what's wrong with me? If it persists, then they go, so you wonder if it's now listen, it becomes once, and I guess I know nothing about parenting, but you wonder if it becomes like sitting down with them, they're a reasoning child. You can have conversations with your child at this point, let's say.
Yeah.
And you say, listen, that is scary. There's this and that and this, but explaining you have. I don't know what the thing is, but you wonder if there's a balance between the two of saying it's okay. This is scary. This is no wonder you're traumatized. The last school sucked. This is also a school.
Yeah.
But then saying, you wonder if a kid could grasp, but if you don't conquer this, you never will. But they might be able to, maybe giving them a role model, Superman. I don't know.
Well, you know what helped me? And I kind of think of it like A Bug's Life. The very beginning, they show the Bug's Life, they show the leaf falls down in front of the ants, and the ants freak out. And they're like, oh my gosh, what are we gonna do? We're like, they blocked the line. And everything's just packing up. And then the guy comes out and he's like, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna go around the leaf. And the guy's like, we're gonna do that? He's like, yeah, I don't know if we can do that. He's like, we're gonna do it one step at a time. And they go, and I'm probably paraphrasing that, but it was like one step, one step, one step, one step. And there you go. You're ready to go. And the guy's super relieved. And then the line is perfectly fine.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what happens. Something in life, the leaf falls in front of my path. And I go, oh my gosh, where's the path? And,
path is
and
gone.
my mind starts going crazy, and kind of like the line, it starts
Change
building
is
up.
bad.
Oh
You
my
had a
gosh,
plan.
this
Yeah.
thing's happening. All these things. What if I die? What if this happens? What if this crazy thing happens? So my best thing is I go, okay, you start going, okay, it's a leaf. We're going to go around it, but we're going to do it kind of one step at a time. So I would do like little bite-sized chunks. Vince, you're not going to conquer, you're not going to build an entire wall. You're just going to make a really nice brick.
Yeah. I love that quote.
You make the really nice brick. You make sure it's good. You can do that, right? It's a little brick.
You can't do that? What?
Yeah,
Come on, you can do it.
You can do the little brick. Look,
Yeah.
that little girl over there is doing the little brick.
Yeah.
I only say that because every time I go on a roller coaster, I get scared. And my dad would always point at like the youngest girl and look, little girl's doing it. She's 6. And then you find out that like she's not tall enough, and I'm on the ride. I'm like, no, why did she get down?
She's not even on the ride as you're like going to your death.
She was just waiting for her dad. But so like, but like so you take on like it's your little brick. We're gonna work on this. Okay. I know that there's this big thing I got to do, but I'm gonna do that. And that's what helped me in college. It helped me in work.
Yeah.
Because you just, okay, I'm working on this little thing. And then next thing you know, you build this huge castle and you're like, oh, that wasn't that bad. I can't believe I was afraid of that.
Right.
I can't believe I was nervous about building a castle. I already did it.
How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
Yeah.
I have this thing that and I don't know if I believe this or not. And I don't know, but because anxiety is very near and dear to my heart, as we both know.
Yeah.
And I always think about it and I feel like I'm doing, and I have a lot less than I used to. And so I always think about, well, what helped? And I almost want to say, and I don't know if I'm sure of it, but it kind of, what you were saying kind of supports it, is making it through those trials that you think you're going to die, whether you're a child losing your balloon.
Yeah.
You think you're going to die to some degree or another because that was all you knew. Whatever. It's very exaggerated, but everything that's new, like, let's say every stressful event, that might cause anxiety is breaking through the glass ceiling of it. And then, but every time it's something that's worse than the last time, then you're going through. So every time you break through that glass ceiling, I feel like it's something that to you threatens your existence. Mm-hmm. And so you think to some degree or another that I lost my job, so I'm going in some degree or another, so I'm going to die. Yeah. That's where your brain goes with anxiety, very loosely.
Yeah.
But once you get through that, you lose your job, you do this, you get these small jobs, you start applying, you get another job and you're fine, you're safe, you didn't die. I feel like you grow a little bit stronger over life. And then you're able to say, hey, remember the last time you thought this was going to happen? Mm-hmm. You thought this anxiety was threatening your life? Look how much you've gone through. Look at the last time. And it's almost the exact opposite of what you're saying with school. You were conditioned. You had some trauma to some degree or another from your old school.
Yeah.
And so you're like, well, I learned. And now this next school is going to be that. Yeah. It's almost flipping it and being like, well, I learned that I didn't die when I switched schools. Got it. I'm going to make it to the end of life regardless.
And I think too, I also want to do a little disclaimer of, if there's people who they fought in war, they have PTSD, they've had really, really traumatic things. I can't even touch it. I can't
that's
compare
so
it. I can't
separate.
say
Yeah.
I'm talking about your average millennial who is just like, oh, I have 16 assignments to do and I only have 3 days to do it.
Yeah.
I'm getting anxiety. Or the person who they start a new job.
Yeah.
And they feel as if like it's something that is it's they're not comfortable with it. They were used to Susan and now they're at a new job and there's no Susan there.
Yeah.
And whatever. So people get anxiety and they don't know how to deal with it. Though that's the type of anxiety that I know dear, that I overthink about.
Yeah.
Ridiculous stuff. If you have something that is truly traumatic, I can't even relate.
There's obviously, yeah.
I feel bad, but I think it's making it edible. It's taking making it into little pieces versus one big monster. And then it slowly doesn't become a monster anymore.
Right.
They say that the reason why we have memory in the first place is to make sure that we don't die.
Yeah.
Like you have memory, not so much like, oh, remember the fond memories of the picnic. No, majority of your memories that really kick in are the traumatic ones.
Yeah.
Because they're telling you, hey, that thing that happened that was bad, let's not do that again.
Mm-hmm.
But there's certain things that your brain tells you is traumatic, which is like I said, the school thing. Well, that doesn't mean all the schools are bad. Maybe maybe it wasn't even that bad. That's where you got to trick your brain into being like, okay, we're gonna go around the leaf.
We're going around the leaf.
We're going around the leaf, one step at a time.
Yeah.
Or what's that? Every once in a while, people post that motivational video of the guy. He's in the football thing, and he's got a crawl, and he's got blindfold on, and the coach is yelling at him. And he's like, I can't go any farther. He's like, you can keep going farther, farther, farther. He's like, I'm not going to make it. And he can't see where he's going.
Yeah.
But he just knows he has to keep going forward. And the coach is yelling at him. And he has to go from the beginning of the football field all the way to the end.
Wow.
Or to like the 50-yard line or something like that. And he's like, I can't do it. He's like, you can keep doing it. Keep pushing forward. Keep push forward. And he gets not only to the finish line, he gets past the finish line. When he's finally like, he breaks down. He's like, I can't do it. I'm done. He's like, open up your thing. And he's like, you're way past the field goal. You already did it. And he's thinking he went to like the 10-yard line.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I feel like it's kind of that. Like you're pushing these little pieces because you don't really know how far you can go. Your anxiety tells you if you leave this house, you're a goner.
Yeah.
But when you start, okay, well, I'm going to drive here. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and this, and this, and this. Next thing you know, you're like, wait a minute, I just traveled to Russia.
Yeah.
And I didn't even think about it. Whereas before you're thinking, oh, I can't leave my city or whatever. That's.
Anyone that writes not that this is an important example, but anyone who writes a book on success or anyone who, for anything with any changes you're making, for me, health behavior changes.
Yep.
The biggest thing is SMART goals, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. So, you say, I want to do this. Same thing with how do you make $1 billion? You break it down into chunks.
Yeah.
or whatever it is, anything that makes it realistic. So attainable.
It feels
I can
reachable.
do it. I can do that. So you do it. And then you just make another one. Oh, I can do that. And then you do it. Turns out then 5 years later, this happened. And if I told you, I need you to do all 5 of these things, you'd be like, okay, well, I can't do that.
Yeah.
But so it's all also about what can you do?
And I want to throw this in for all those who are graduating high school this year or are currently in college. Because my brother, he just graduated. And when I hear some of his buddies and all that, the thing I hear all the time, and I heard it when we were kids too, was I just don't want to be in school forever. Mm-hmm. And they worry about, they're like, oh, 4 years, that's a long time. Or like, I want to be a doctor, but I don't want to go to school for 8 years. So I'm going to do this. And it's like, the time's going to pass anyway, regardless of what you do.
Oh, yeah.
But if you look at it as 8 years,
boom, all at once.
That's intimidating versus, okay, well, I want to be a doctor. So I'm going to start off freshman year. I'm taking these biology classes and I'm going to do really well in these biology classes. That's it. You're not looking at the whole 8 years.
Don't even look at it. I don't even want you thinking about it.
You're going to get there when you get there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so if you do these bite-sized chunks, because one thing that's amazing is, well, for us, 8 years ago, we were in high school. We were graduating high school.
Yeah.
So in theory, if we had the drive, had the intelligence, had whatever, if we put in the work, we could be right now considered doctors if we did the 8 years and did all that stuff, right? So that always kind of makes you think like, well, the time passed anyway.
It already passed.
It
will pass, yeah.
It already passed. And we're not interested in being doctors, but you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
The people who think, oh, well, I don't want to do 8 years. It's like 8 years goes by so quick.
Yeah.
As every old person will tell you.
Yeah.
But what's the cure then? Okay, well, instead of looking at it as 8 years, 8 years is fast. Well, that doesn't help. Well, just focus on this part.
Yeah.
And slowly build. And you'll see everyone's, doing school or doing work or doing whatever. And as it slowly comes up, next thing you know, you're hitting the 8 years and you go, wow, that was quick.
Yeah.
But it's hard to tell someone that. That's why I always say, okay, well, just focus on the little thing. If that's what you really want to do, focus on, okay, this semester I want to do really well in my classes. That's it. That's my number one. Okay. You did really well. Great. Next semester. Do something. You're going to hit that 8 years.
I feel like almost an illness is a thing that I feel like most humans do nowadays is they're and probably at forever, they're trying to slow down time. You know what I mean? Because that's where I feel like maybe essentially that's where it's just for this example. I don't want to be a doctor because 8 years is a long time because you're afraid you're going to lose that time.
Yeah.
And you could potentially get away with not losing that time if you did.
As if you could store it.
As if you could store it and do it later.
I'm going to invest my time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like that causes a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety, a lot of not doing what you could be doing because you think, and I feel like this almost kind of gets into, which is great for me, mindfulness and living in the moment, living your mind in the moment of enjoying and working on what's in front of you. The laying the brick perfectly. This is, look, it's happening. Look how great everything is. This is all you got. And you're going to lose it. You're going to miss your life if you spend the whole time trying to save time, which is a paradox.
And one thing I always try to explain is like pretty much what you said in terms of like, it's good to remember your past. It's, remember it, appreciate it, learn from it. But you don't want to live in the past.
Yeah.
You don't want to be like, oh man, remember that day? Oh, life was so much easier back then. It probably was because you were, as I think we've done this joke, like your age is your level, like you're a lower level.
Yeah.
Of course it was easier.
You're in
Now life is fit for your level right now.
It was syllabus day. Of course it was easier.
Yeah, it was something like that. And you're like, oh man, it was so easy. You just went to school and you didn't have to worry about your bills and all that. It's like, yeah, but it's the benefit now. You don't have to go to school.
Yeah.
You just pay your bills or whatever. But so you don't want to live in the past. But then I know a lot of people, they live so much in the future where it's like I won't be happy until I do this. And maybe they don't say it that way, but that's how they act.
That's how they're acting.
Like, I won't be happy until I have X, Y, and Z, which is going to take a couple years. I won't be happy until I do this. It's like, well, then you're going to really not enjoy it. So it's like, you want to have a plan for the future. I want to be a doctor in 8 years. Okay. But you have to live in the present.
Yeah.
You have to live in the present. You can prepare for the future, remember the past, but you have to live in the present because otherwise, once you get to that future, you're going to go, okay, now what?
Yeah. You're going to, hopefully, optimistically, you're going to get what you think is going to, as long as I just make it to Friday, as long as I just get $1 million, I get it.
Yeah.
But
I get on my vacation.
Yeah. You will get those things likely, hopefully. And then there's going to be a time where you got those.
Yeah.
And you're still maybe not happy or not fulfilled because it was never in those things.
Yeah.
Those things are going to happen, which is nice.
It's the cliche, life is a journey, not a destination. And when you think about like, I think about this too. It's, there was this thing I heard that people who, when they do their, is it dissertations? I don't know if it's for their master's, PhD, whatever.
Yeah.
They spend so much time working on it. And after they get it done, there's a good chunk of them that become depressed and they don't know why. They're like, why am I depressed? I got the thing that I wanted. But it turns out that they actually had more of a purpose, a drive working towards it than actually getting it. Not saying don't get it.
Right.
No, get it. But now you have to establish, okay, it's not just like when people say every grandma on Facebook ever, like, or whoever, when I retire, I just want to sit on the beach and drink, mojitos. Well, that's a dumb plan. You're going to do that forever? Forever. That's all. Never going to lose its value. You're going to get dehydrated real quick.
You know how many mojitos it takes to get dehydrated? 3.5.
You're going to get sick of mojitos.
Yeah.
The beach is going to feel like, like
You're gonna run out of garnish for the drink.
you're gonna run out of garnish for a drink. How expensive is that? You're gonna be a homeless person. Like that's not a good plan. That's for this weekend.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go to the beach, drink mojitos. But like everyone, they kind of think of that way. Like, oh, once I retire, once I do this, then I'll be happy. Well, then what happens is, like even with like my grandfather, he retired, and he hated it for a long time. He's like, every day is Saturday. And you think that and think, oh my gosh, every day is Saturday. He's like, no, he's like, there's no point. I'm like, whoa.
Dang.
He's like, you lose that feeling of, oh, it's Friday.
Yeah.
And tomorrow's Saturday.
Yin and yang.
You lose that.
Yeah.
You lose that. You go, well, tomorrow's Saturday. So now he had to do things. He works on his hobbies and he does this stuff to keep him busy because he was starting to get depressed.
Yeah.
When he thought his whole life he was working to the bone, always getting excited for that Saturday, always going, when I get retired, then I can finally go,
Yeah.
It didn't happen. He got more anxiety because he's like, what do I do?
Yeah.
I've been there. So you can't live so much for the future. You have to enjoy the moment. You say, okay, well, today I'm making my brick.
Yeah.
And it's going to be this nice little brick. And it'll be great. And then when you get the award, oh, it's a great feeling. And then you go, okay, what's the next brick I got to build?
Yeah. Alan Watts has this quote, same thing of not living into putting the weight of your existence and happiness on the end result. He says, life is like a dance. The point of dancing isn't to get to the end of the dance. The point of dancing is the dance.
Yeah.
It's during it, and it's saying the same thing in different ways, but the way he worded it just really made a lot of sense of you're doing the dance. Enjoy the dance. And that comes with the bad, the good, and everything. But guess what? This is the only dance you got. You might as well enjoy what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, and you should, like I said, you should. Now I guess there are some extremes where people live in the present where they try to use it to escape from their future.
Yeah. And that's
like, they don't want to think about
bad.
the future.
Yeah.
So they're just like, that's why I say plan your future, have a goal, aim for the goal.
Yeah.
But don't live as if you're not going to be happy until you hit that goal.
Right.
You have to enjoy the process. But yeah, there's some people who either they yearn for the past or they're so afraid of the future. They're just like, well, I'm just going to
ignore it.
I'm going to keep hitting the play button.
Yeah.
Instead of the work button because I want to just enjoy today. Well, then that work in the future gets so intensified.
It's a big pile of work.
It's this big pile of work, whatever it is. You still play. You still get to enjoy your time, but you have to do the work too. It's like you said, it's like a dance. And you can't sit on the sidelines. Can't wait for the song to be over. Mm-hmm. Sometimes White Snake comes on.
Yeah. And you're going to have to dance to
You're going to have to dance to White Snake.
You're going to figure out how do you dance to White Snake? You're going to have to figure it out.
I wasn't used to White Snake.
You're going to think you're going to die.
Low.
I wanted apple bottom jeans, boots with a fur. That's what I know. This is my room.
Yeah.
White Snake comes on. I don't know what I'm doing.
And you just do it one step at a time. We're going to go around the White Snake.
This sucks.
Best part is like, how many people are just like, you're in your 20s. You have no freaking clue. You don't have kids.
No.
You've never been to war. You don't know anything.
I got all the perspective I'll never need. 26.
I hope we're in a way the balloon shop big brother to younger listeners.
You hope anyone listens and goes, oh no. I just want one person to have a crisis listening to this.
Someone to be like, what? I guess I should do something in my life and stop listening to this podcast because this is a waste of time.
A waste of time. I've been driving around my neighborhood for an hour and a half.
I don't have a lot of gas. I don't really have a lot of money to get.
I don't have anything.